Yeah.
was that, and that's more like to me that was more of like a command, like realign, like that. And so let's talk about that a little bit, Lana, because
Yeah.
I think this is a very this is a very it just feels like such an important time.
Yeah.
And I know, you can say that about a lot of things, but like, my gosh, I mean, being here in the States
Yeah.
with an election 40 days away, um,
Wow.
just riots in the streets. I mean, of course, I've been in bed 3 days straight. So I've been watching the news for 3 days. So, of course, my perspective is totally skewed now because I've just spent 3 days
Yeah.
consuming it's just, to me, I'm like, is all of America broken? Like, it just seems like the whole thing is broke, right? But and yet we have a major election.
Yeah.
The political spirit, I don't know. I'm only 45. I'm not a historian. I'm not a political science major, but the political spirit, I can't imagine it ever being stronger where
Mm.
people seem so clearly entrenched and committed to hating each other,
Yeah.
um, and digging in heels, and so of course I know I'm like, Lord, you must be wanting to do something in this season. And I think there's so many counterfeit things vying for our attention, Lana. I think there's so many counterfeit spirits, counterfeit movements. There's so much counterfeit um, messages
Mm.
to distract and siphon off the people of God.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that word say realign, share with us a little bit about what one how that relates to this word and this time right now. And
Yeah.
let's maybe give some practical steps about what people can do to realign,
Yeah.
to position themselves to receive, I mean, that impartation you talked about, which is, I mean, I'd love to have you release that when we're done at the
I
end, but
will. Yeah.
talk about the importance of this realign. It seems like that was like a commandment. It doesn't seem like that was not a suggestion. It seems like that was like you know, that to me seems like an instruction.
Yeah. Yeah, and I before I released this word, I had an encounter with the Lord, and it really shook me in the sense that it made me stop and go, "Oh my gosh, Lord! Like again, I want to re-examine my alignments."
Yeah.
I had this encounter, and I saw Jesus, and the short of it was everybody was sitting at tables, and I knew the tables represented their alignments. And I saw Jesus was sitting at a table with some people, and then he got up and he moved to another table, and he said, "It's time to change the tables." And I
Mm,
began to see some people were going, "Oh, if Jesus is moving, I'm moving." So they would go and then move to the new table that the Lord was sitting at. But then other people were like, "No, like I'm comfortable where I am. It's too scary to move to another table." Or even there was like heart connections with people. Like I love the people that I'm aligned with right now. I don't actually want to move to another table. And in this encounter, the Lord was saying, no, 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 it's not that the alignments were wrong. It's that you need to be in new alignments for the new things that I'm doing. And I came out of this encounter with this cry in my heart of, God, whatever table you're sitting at, that's where I want to sit.
yeah.
And if it means that there are alignments that I need to come out of in this hour, it doesn't mean that I'm coming out in disagreement, disunity, or anything. It means that, hey, the season has shifted and I need to follow the Lord where He's going. I'm like, God, work on my heart if there's anything like that. Since that encounter, the Lord has begun to shift alignments in my own life. And I felt my own heart starting to go, it feels a bit uncomfortable, right? Because there are alignments that I love. There are alignments that I've been used to, but I recognize that the Spirit of God is
Mm,
moving in different directions. And I'm not here, for my own comfort. As much as I love comfort and I don't like feeling uncomfortable, I'm going to follow him where he's going. So then we come into this word. I had no idea the Lord in the middle of this encounter was going to go to realignment. So I was quite surprised when the Lord said there is a realignment required. But when he said, Pedro, I've got it written here, he said there are new alignments for the new assignments. I wish I could have articulated this in writing as I will now. When he said that, you're exactly right. It was like a command, but it was also this feeling of, if I don't align in the new alignments for the new assignments God has, I could potentially delay my assignment. Now, that's not because God is like, God is saying the assignments are ready right now. Like the nations need a move of God, and I need my people to take their place. There was this sense of, wow, there is a responsibility upon me as a child of God to hear the alignment of the Lord and to really take it seriously and to move in it, and to not remain in yesterday's alignments because possibly I love them or they're comfortable. And the new alignments are amazing. There's new provisions, there's new grace, there's new vision. And so I think that practically I've been encouraging people. This isn't a word to take and go, oh, okay, like I got to be in my bonnet, so I'm going to, leave an alignment or whatever. No. This is a word to take before the Lord. And I've been encouraging people, pray, God, I'm laying everything out on the table. What do the new alignments look like in this new era for me? What does it look like for me right now to be aligned with you? Maybe part of my realignment might be, don't be such an open book. Don't speak so much about the vision. God, I'm sorry, I'm going to realign back to what you're saying. Okay, give me discernment to know what to share and when to share. Or it may be I've been aligned with, somebody who has walked with me and journeyed with me up until this point, and now the Lord is saying, the relationship's going to change somehow, and there's a new tribe. I just think we have to be really careful right now to align where God is aligning, and to really, I'm going to come back to it again, be careful about the inner circle. There's something about the inner circle that God keeps repeating in this hour regarding those that we're sharing our vision with.
Yeah. One thing that what's happened during this challenge, Lana, it started out, it was the convergence challenge. And I just felt that like the what the coronavirus did was it just kind of, it put this huge pressure on so many things. And it just brought so many problems to the surface, and it just exposed so many vulnerabilities and really just caused all these things to come to a head. And, when you turn the heat up, that's kind of what happens. And I've seen how that has actually propelled many of us into a convergent moment, in a convergent season. And so what part and really convergence is I've talked about it. Really, it's just one of the ways I think that God redeems. Obviously my favorite verse is Romans 8:28. All things work for the good, those who love God, called according to his purpose. And yet, so we know our God's a God of redemption. And yet, like, to me, it's a great mystery. I'm like, how, as I've seen God take so many things from my life, Lana, so many failures and mistakes and pain. I'm like, and I'm seeing him go through and just redeem like one after the other. I mean, now we're years into this now. Like we're probably, I don't know, a good 5-6 years into this redemptive journey, and it's just, and so one of the early things I had to do to begin to end the suffering and end the ditch and begin to come out was I let the wrong people in. I let the wrong people into my inner circle. I began listening to fools. Fools. These were fools. My wife clearly saw, I was like, these people are fools. I'm like, no. Like, I didn't want to believe her because I felt they had something I needed.
Yeah.
And I had blind spots I was so focused on getting what I thought I needed that I didn't want to see all the red flags. And my life fell apart because I took counsel from the wrong people. And so just how the wrong things happen in your life when the wrong people enter, the right things can begin to happen once you kick out the wrong people. So I remember having the clarity to be like, I can no longer hang out with these people. I can no longer listen to these people. And it was a very much like, hey, listen, we're done. Like, we don't work together anymore. Lose my phone number. Please do not call me. Like, though, and so that was an extreme example, Lana. But I can tell you that, like, guys, like, your purpose, the call in your life, the assignment in your life, it's either more important than maybe hurting someone's feelings. Maybe they're gonna think you're a jerk. Like, I didn't care. Like, at that point I knew that, like, this person like was not serving my purpose. And so I think, guys, with this realign, to me, it could be a heart posture. It could be around realigning your heart, like back to the kingdom message, then back to our King in a whole new way. It could be realigning, where are you placing your hope? And maybe it's weaning ourselves off of media and the news and our clearly, struggling political system. And maybe it is just like, guys, like my season of redemption was only able to begin when I kicked out all the wrong people who I let too close in. So I would encourage some of you to take that word seriously. And it doesn't mean you have to be a jerk. It doesn't mean you have to get offended with a bunch of people. It just means be wise about the inner circle. And I think that a lot of us mess this up, Lonnie, because I think we're just too nice.
Yeah.
We're too nice, and I think that sometimes we don't guard the gift. We don't guard our word. We don't guard our assignment vigorously enough. And so I think we're giving some people some permission today. I'm curious. Without being too personal, I'd love to hear some of the things. I'd love to hear some of the ways you've aligned like, what have you, like, I think people are always curious, like, well, Pedro, what have you done? And I can share some examples too, but I'd love to hear, Lana, if there's anything that you can share that's not too personal. I think it's good for people to see that, that we are going through these same refinements. We're going through this process ourselves. So anything you can share on that?
Of course, yeah. So when COVID hit and everything started getting shut down, I went into quite an intense time with the Lord, because in January of this year, I had this encounter with God before anything had hit, and He said to me, "Lana, throw your calendar in the fire." And I said, "Sorry, what?" And He said, "Throw your calendar for 2020 in the fire." And I knew the Lord was saying, surrender your itinerary, surrender your plans for 2020, surrender everything. So I said, "Okay, Lord." I had no idea why He was asking me to do it. He just said to do it. So I did it. And then a little while after that, He told me to release this word as a prophetic word. Now, after that encounter, I go into this deep time with the Lord where I felt like everything that I knew that the Lord had spoken to me up till this point now was laid on the table, in the sense that I came into this season of feeling and experiencing the fear of the Lord in the weight of this season. And so I began for many, many, many months, and I'm still in this place right now where I literally lay down my blueprints, my vision, and I say, "God, you change this however you change it." And some of it has been uncomfortable. Some of it, like I said, some realignments have had to shift. And in the realignments, I want to say this, and you've already said it really well, Pedro, but even in the realignments, I'm like, "God, give me your heart to steward the realignments well." I think that's really important. Like, if God is saying realign, maybe, in relationships, let's say, for example, okay, God, help me to steward that in a way that is, with integrity, with purity, with humility, with character. Like, help me to steward that realignment process well. And one thing that I learned as well in this shifting of, especially in relationships, is that, you know, I can still love people from a distance, you know what I mean? Like I can still pour into people, but the realignment for me means, okay, the place of access that you had to me previously where I would share the deep things, you actually don't have that anymore. And that can just be simply me pulling myself back and still loving and encouraging people, but recognizing, okay, the Lord is saying, don't open your heart so much. And so part for me has been a major realignment of everything. So the vision, processing, strategy. Okay, God, what does it look like now? We can't leave Australia. We can't travel. What are you doing? And so giving God the space to actually say, okay, this is what I'm changing. This is the new vision. And in the last 5-6 months, you know, we've just birthed our first online school. I'd never thought of doing an online school before, but that's what the Lord wanted to do. We've got some more things coming up next year that I had never thought of before. And so part of, I think, this process for me has been just the call to a deeper level of surrender, a deeper level of aligning with the strategy of God and understanding and knowing his ways, but also recognizing, and this has been a very deep revelation for me, and I've always known it, but I know it now, that the realignment process we're in right now is because we have a really good Father in heaven, a really good Father who loves us so incredibly and so relentlessly and so passionately that he is purging and purifying and reshaping and convicting and realigning so that you and I can walk in everything that he's called us to, so that we can carry this next move of his Spirit. It's out of his love. And so I think even for me, like, it's been a very intense year. Even in my own heart, the heart journey has been massive. The Lord has been saying, embrace the refiner's fire. Okay, Lord, every day I meditate on Psalm, where David, 139, I think it's 23 and 24, where David says, you know, examine me, Lord, in the light of your presence. If there is anything within me, that is a cry of my heart, not out of fear and trembling. Oh my gosh, am I doing something wrong? No. It's the place of preparation and purifying so I can carry. But I think, like, just even going back to this word, I think there's been so much talk for so long about positioning, preparing, get ready. And, you know, in the prophetic, you can hear words like that for a long time. And like you said, Pedro, people don't go, you know, you just stay in this preparing process. But I think right now we are about to go, like, it is on now, like, and the nations need a move of God. The nations need you and I to stand up and take our place unapologetically. This word, unapologetically, has been thundering to me from the Lord for the last 6 months, that God is calling us as his people, even in the realignment. Don't apologize for the vision that he's given you. Don't apologize that you have to change tables. Don't apologize for the favor God has given you. Don't apologize for the strategy and the wisdom or the creativity if it looks different. Stay in the place of conviction to what the Lord is calling. Because I just feel like in this realignment thing, and this is sharing all out of my own stuff that I've gone through, I am more convicted now of the assignment, the message, the way it looks, the strategy that God has given me for my life. That if people come in, like for example, last week or the week before, I had somebody who I love come into my life and say, hey, I think you should be doing life this way. And when they said it, immediately I had this feeling in my spirit of, oh, that's not right. But if that had have come 2 years ago, I might have gone, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Like maybe the strategy of God for this hour isn't right. But because of the work that God has been doing inside of me, there is a fire of conviction. The vision has gone so deep, and the wisdom and strategy of the Lord has so fortified in my spirit now that I know what he's saying. And so I will listen. Of course, I'm teachable. You know, if people in my life come to me and go, hey, you better check that, I will always take it back to the Lord. But what I'm saying is, because of the work of God in my heart, right, that's happened this year, I know that I know what God is saying, and I won't be shaken from it. And I think that's part of what God is wanting to release to us in this realignment, that we're unapologetic. We stand up, we speak truth, we speak in love, we minister the way God says, we create we walk in the blueprint without apology, because this is the mandate on my life right now, and this is what